The envelope landed on the coffee table between us with a sound like a judge's gavel. I stared at it, then at Michael, my husband of 5 years, as he leaned back in his leather chair with that expression I'd come to recognize over the past few months. The one that said he'd already made up his mind and was just waiting for me to catch up. $500,000. That's what the check inside was for. That's what he thought our marriage was worth. I need you to sign these papers, Victoria. Michael's voice carried that tone of forced patience he used when he thought I was being difficult. Lily doesn't have much time left. The doctors say maybe 2 years if she's lucky. All she wants is to leave behind a child before she goes. I picked up the divorce agreement, scanning the pages that outlined how we'd divide our lives like furniture in a storage unit. My hands didn't shake. I'd cried all my tears 3 nights ago when I'd found them together in his office, her hand on his chest, his lips near her ear, whispering something that made her laugh. Let me make sure I understand this correctly. I kept my voice level, emotionless. You want me to divorce you so that Lily can have your baby? Your stepsister? The woman who's been living in our guest house for the past 3 years? She's not just my stepsister. Michael's jaw tightened. She's family. I've known her since she was 12. When my father married her mother, I promised I'd always take care of her. And apparently, that includes sleeping with her. The words dropped into the room like stones into still water. Michael's face flushed red. That's not what this is about, isn't it? I stood up, setting the papers back on the table. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been having an affair with your stepsister, and now you want me to conveniently step aside so she can have what she really wants. You, Victoria, be reasonable. His tone sharpened. This is temporary. Once Lily has the baby and we're sure she's stable, we'll remarry. You'll be the child's mother. We'll raise it together. How generous of you. I walked to the window overlooking the garden I'd planted 3 years ago. Every rose bush, every hydrangea, chosen and placed by my hands. I'd given up my career as an architect to be Michael's wife, to host his business dinners, to care for his ailing mother before she passed. I'd folded myself smaller and smaller to fit into the life he wanted. The door opened behind me. I didn't need to turn around to know it was Lily. Her perfume, something expensive Michael had bought her for Christmas, announced her presence. Michael? Her voice was soft, fragile. Did she sign them yet? I'm not feeling well. I need to lie down. I turned then. Lily stood in the doorway in a white silk robe, her hand pressed dramatically to her forehead. She looked perfectly healthy to me, all golden hair and dewy skin, but what did I know? I wasn't the one with mysterious test results that only she and Michael were allowed to see. Not yet. Michael stood, moving toward her with concern that used to be reserved for me. Give us a few more minutes, sweetheart. Sweetheart. The word landed like a slap. Lily's eyes met mine over Michael's shoulder. For just a second, I saw it. The flash of triumph. The curl at the corner of her mouth. Then it was gone, replaced by that fragile, suffering expression she wore so well. I'm sorry, Victoria. Lily's voice wavered. I never wanted to come between you two. If there was any other way, I wouldn't ask. But time is running out, and I just want to leave something behind. Surely you can understand that. Can't you be compassionate? Michael added. Just this once? Just this once. As if I hadn't been compassionate for 5 years. As if I hadn't swallowed my pride every time Lily needed Michael in the middle of the night. Every time he canceled our plans because she had a crisis. Every time I found them alone together and felt that twist in my gut that I forced myself to ignore. Something inside me shifted, settled, hardened. You're right. I picked up the pen from the table. I should be more understanding. Michael's shoulders relaxed. Thank you, Victoria. You won't regret this. I promise we'll make this work. I signed my name across the bottom of the divorce papers in smooth, confident strokes. Then I set down the pen and looked directly at Lily. I hope you get everything you deserve. Lily's smile widened. Michael let out a breath I didn't realize he'd been holding. I'll have my lawyer send over the paperwork to finalize everything. I picked up my purse. And Michael, don't contact me again. We're done. His brow furrowed. Victoria, wait, we need to discuss the timeline for when we'll remarry after the baby comes. There won't be a remarriage. What? Both of them spoke at once. Did you really think I'd come back to this? I gestured between them. Did you think I'd raise the child you two created while lying to me? I'm not that understanding, Michael, and I'm not that much of a fool. You can't just leave. Michael's voice rose. What about your mother's medical bills? I've been covering them for the past 2 years. There it was. The threat he'd been holding in reserve. Actually, I smiled. You haven't. I reached into my purse and pulled out my phone, pulling up a bank statement. I've been paying them myself for the past year, ever since I started working again. Working? Michael looked genuinely shocked. Doing what? Consulting, remote architectural work for a firm in Boston. I smiled at his confusion. You were so busy with Lily's appointments and emergencies. You never noticed I was in my home office 6 hours a day? The money you thought you were sending to my mother's hospital? I invested it. It's sitting in an account earning interest. I'll be writing you a check. The color drained from Michael's face. Lily's hand clutched his arm, her fragile act slipping for just a moment as her eyes narrowed. You planned this? Lily's voice lost its tremor. No, I shook my head. I hoped I was wrong about you, both of you. But I've learned that hope doesn't pay the bills or protect you from people who see kindness as weakness. So, yes, I prepared. I made sure I'd be okay when this moment came. My phone buzzed. A text from Rachel, my best friend, and now my roommate. She'd helped me move my things out of the house 2 days ago while Michael was at work and Lily was at one of her many doctor's appointments. Everything's set up. Welcome home. I looked up at Michael one last time. He stood there, caught between confusion and anger, his arms still around Lily, who had gone very quiet. I loved you. My voice didn't break. I gave up everything for you. My career, my independence, my self-respect. But I won't give up my dignity. Enjoy your new family. I walked out of that house with my head high, leaving behind the check he'd tried to use to buy my compliance. $500,000 sitting on that table, untouched, because some things I'd learned you can't put a price on. 3 months later, I was standing in the lobby of Harrison Industries when I saw him, Alexander Hartwell. We'd met at an architecture conference 6 months ago before everything fell apart. He'd offered me a position with his development firm, and I'd turned him down because Michael didn't like the idea of me traveling for work. Now, seeing him across the marble floor in his perfectly tailored suit, I wondered what other opportunities I'd let slip away. Victoria? His face lit up when he saw me. What are you doing here? Meeting with the Planning Commission about the riverfront project. His eyebrows rose. You're working on the riverfront? That's my project. We stared at each other for a moment, then both started laughing. Well then. Alexander offered his arm. Shall we go in together? As I took his arm, I caught a glimpse of us in the building's glass doors. I barely recognized myself. Gone was the woman who'd shrunk to fit someone else's vision. In her place stood someone who looked confident, powerful, alive. The meeting went better than I could have imagined. Alexander and I worked together seamlessly, our visions for the project aligning in ways that felt almost telepathic. When the commission approved our proposal, he turned to me with a grin that made something flutter in my chest that I'd thought had died. Dinner? He asked. To celebrate? I'd love to. Over wine and pasta at a quiet Italian place downtown, Alexander told me he'd been following my work. The Morrison Building renovation? Brilliant. The way you preserve the historical elements while making it functional for modern use? That's the kind of vision I need on my team. Is this a job offer? I teased, if you'll have it. His eyes were serious now. Partner position, full creative control on your projects. And if I'm being completely honest, Victoria, I'd like to see more of you. Outside of work, too. My phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. When I opened it, my blood ran cold. We need to talk. Lily lost the baby. Come to the house. Michael needs you. Alexander noticed my expression. Everything okay? I showed him the message. He read it, then looked up at me with concern. Are you going? No. I deleted the message. That part of my life is over. But over the next week, the messages kept coming. From Michael's number, from Lily's, from his mother's friends. Each one a variation of the same theme. He needs you. She's devastated. Don't you have any compassion? Can't you be understanding just this once? That phrase again. Just this once. As if I hadn't spent 5 years being understanding while they built their relationship right under my nose. Then came the call I couldn't ignore. Michael's mother, Eleanor. Victoria, please, I'm begging you. Come to the house. I need to show you something. Something in her voice made me agree. When I arrived, Eleanor met me at the door. She looked older than I remembered, tired in a way that had nothing to do with age. Thank you for coming. She led me not into the main house, but to the guest house where Lily had been living. Inside, everything was pink. Baby clothes hung in a pristine nursery. A crib stood ready, decorated with ribbons and bows. But something was off. The medical bills scattered across the desk were addressed to a fertility clinic, not an oncologist. And in the trash, I saw it. A pregnancy test. Negative. Eleanor followed my gaze. I found these yesterday when I came to check on Lily. She handed me a folder. Medical records. Real ones. I read through them, my hands starting to shake. Lily wasn't dying. She'd never been dying. She had a benign thyroid condition that was completely manageable with medication. The dire prognosis, the limited time, all of it was a lie. And there was more. Financial records showing Lily had been systematically draining Michael's accounts, transferring money to an account in her name. Plans for a life in Europe with her real boyfriend, a man she'd been seeing for over a year. She was never pregnant, was she? I looked up at Eleanor. The older woman shook her head, tears in her eyes. I confronted her this morning. She laughed at me, said Michael was a fool for believing her, and I was a bigger fool for supporting it. She's gone now, took everything she could carry, and left. Where's Michael? In the house, waiting for you. Eleanor's voice broke. I know I have no right to ask, but please just talk to him. Let him apologize. I found Michael in his study, the same room where he'd handed me those divorce papers 3 months ago. He looked wrecked. Eyes red-rimmed, shirt wrinkled, hair uncombed. Victoria. He stood when he saw me. Thank God you came. I know you saw the evidence. I know you know what a fool I've been. I'm so sorry. I'll do anything to make this right. We can get remarried tomorrow. I'll spend the rest of my life making this up to you. I looked at him, really looked at him, and felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, not even pity. Just an overwhelming sense of relief that this man was no longer my problem. No. What? I said no, Michael. I'm not coming back. But Lily lied to both of us. She manipulated us. This isn't what I wanted. You wanted me to step aside so you could have a child with another woman. You wanted me to be understanding while you built a life with someone else. The only thing that's different now is that you got caught. That's not fair. Fair? I laughed, a sound without humor. You divorced me. Michael, you chose her over me, dying or not. You threw away our marriage for a woman you barely knew anymore. And now that it's blown up in your face, you expect me to come running back? I love you. No, you don't. You love the idea of me. The woman who gave up everything to make you comfortable. The woman who was always understanding, always compassionate, always willing to put your needs first. But that woman is gone, Michael. She left the day you asked her to divorce you. Then who are you now? I'm someone who knows her worth. Someone who won't accept being anyone's second choice. Someone who's building a life on her own terms. I turned to leave, but his voice stopped me. Is there someone else? I thought about Alexander, about the partnership he'd offered, about the way he looked at me like I was extraordinary just as I was. Yes. There's someone else. Me. I'm choosing myself this time. Victoria, please. Just give me another chance. Can't you be understanding? Just this once? There it was again. That phrase that had haunted me for 5 years. I've been understanding enough for both of us. I walked to the door, then paused. Goodbye, Michael. I hope you find what you're looking for. But you won't find it with me. 6 months later, I stood in the ballroom of the Grand Hotel, Alexander's hand warm in mine. The Riverfront project had won 3 awards, and tonight we were celebrating with the entire development team. You look happy. Alexander's thumb traced circles on the back of my hand. I am, and I was, genuinely, completely happy in a way I couldn't remember being in years. My career was flourishing. I had an apartment I loved, filled with things I'd chosen. I had friends who valued me for who I was, not who they wanted me to be. And I had Alexander, who'd made it clear from the start that he wanted a partner, not an accessory. I heard through the grapevine that Michael tried to get Lily arrested. Rachel appeared at my elbow with champagne. Turns out you can't prosecute someone for lying about being sick. Who knew? What happened to her? Married the boyfriend in Monaco last month? Living off the money she stole? Rachel clinked her glass against mine. Some people get away with everything. I looked around the ballroom at everything I'd built in the wreckage of my old life. Actually, I smiled. I think they did me a favor. The band started playing and Alexander pulled me toward the dance floor. Dance with me? As he spun me across the floor, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the ballroom windows. A woman in a red dress, her head thrown back in laughter, her eyes bright with joy. She looked nothing like the person who'd signed those divorce papers 6 months ago. She looked free. Victoria. Alexander's voice was soft in my ear. I have something to ask you. He pulled back slightly, and I saw the small box in his hand. My breath caught. I know it hasn't been long. I know you might not be ready. But I've never been more sure of anything in my life. He opened the box to reveal a simple, elegant ring. Victoria Mitchell, will you marry me? 6 months ago, I would have hesitated, would have worried about what people would think, about whether it was too soon, about whether I could trust my own judgment again. But the woman I'd become didn't live her life based on other people's timelines or expectations. Yes. The word came out strong and sure. Yes, I'll marry you. The ballroom erupted in applause as Alexander slipped the ring onto my finger and kissed me. When we broke apart, I was laughing and crying at the same time. Rachel pushed through the crowd, her own eyes wet. I'm so happy for you. Thank you for everything, for giving me a place to stay, for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. She squeezed my hand. That's what friends do. And speaking of which, I hope you're ready for me to be the most obnoxious maid of honor in history. I wouldn't have it any other way. Later that night, as Alexander and I stood on his penthouse balcony looking out over the city, he wrapped his arms around me from behind. Any regrets? I thought about Michael, about the life I could have had if I'd been more understanding, more willing to accept whatever scraps of affection he threw my way, about the woman I would have become if I'd stayed in that marriage, getting smaller and quieter and more invisible with each passing year. Not a single one. I leaned back against him. Thank you for seeing me, for seeing who I really am. Thank you for letting me. He kissed the top of my head. And for the record, Victoria, I will never ask you to be understanding about someone else's claim on my heart. There's only you. There will only ever be you. Below us, the city sparkled with a million lights, each one a possibility, a promise, a new beginning. I'd walked away from a marriage that was killing me by inches, from a man who saw me as expendable, from a life built on making myself smaller to fit someone else's vision of what I should be. And I'd walked into something better than I'd ever imagined possible. My phone buzzed. One last message from an unknown number. I saw the announcement about your engagement. Congratulations. I'm happy for you. Really? I'm sorry for everything? Michael? I showed it to Alexander. He read it, then looked at me, waiting. I deleted the message and blocked the number. Done? Done? I turned in his arms, reaching up to cup his face. Now, where were we? He smiled, that slow, warm smile that still made my heart skip. I believe I was telling you that you're the most extraordinary woman I've ever met. Keep talking. I'm listening. And for the first time in years, I truly was. Listening to someone who saw my worth, who celebrated my strength, who wanted me to shine rather than asking me to dim my light for someone else's comfort. I learned the hard way that compassion without boundaries is self-destruction. That understanding someone else's pain doesn't mean accepting your own mistreatment. That sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away. And I'd learned that on the other side of that walk, if you're brave enough to take it, there's a life waiting that's richer and fuller than anything you left behind. A life where you don't have to make yourself smaller to fit. A life where you're celebrated, not tolerated. A life where you're enough, exactly as you are. As Alexander and I headed back inside, ready to celebrate with friends who truly cared about us, I sent one final thought back to the woman I used to be. The one who'd sat in that study 6 months ago and signed her name on those divorce papers with shaking hands. Thank you for being brave enough to let go. Thank you for choosing yourself. Thank you for believing there was something better waiting on the other side. Because there was. And it was extraordinary.